So you mentioned you were at Princeton to
Hmm.
Andrew Wiles at that time.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
a professor there.
Hmm.
It's a funny moment how history is just all interconnected. And at that time, he announced that he proved the Fermat's
Oh, yes.
theorem. What did you think, maybe looking back now with more context about that moment in math history?
Yeah, so I was a graduate student at the time. I mean, I vaguely remember, there was press attention, and we all had the same, we all had pigeonholes in the same mailroom. So we all check our mail, and like suddenly Andrew Wiles's mailbox exploded to be overflowing. Um,
That's a good metric.
yeah, so yeah, we all talked about it at tea and so forth. I mean, we didn't understand. Most of us sort of didn't understand the proof. We understand sort of high level details. In fact, there's an ongoing project to formalize it in Lean. Right? Kevin Buzzard is actually.
Yeah, can we take that small tangent? Is it how difficult is that? Because as I understand the proof for Fermat's theorem has like super complicated objects.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
really difficult to formalize, no?
yeah. I guess yeah, you're right. The objects that they use, um, you can define them. So they've been defined in Lean. Okay, so just
Oh
defining
yeah.
what they are can be done. That's really not trivial, but it's been done. But there's a lot of really basic facts about these objects that have taken decades to prove, and that they're in all these different math papers. And so lots of these have to be formalized as well. Um, Kevin Buzzard's goal, actually, he has a 5-year grant to formalize Fermat's theorem, and his aim is that he doesn't think he will be able to get all the way down to the basic axioms, but he wants to formalize it to the point where the only things that he needs to rely on as black boxes are things that were known by 1980 to number theorists at the time, um, and then some other work would have to be done to get from there. So it's a different area of mathematics than the type of mathematics I'm used to. Um, in analysis, which is kind of my area, the objects we study are kind of much closer to the ground. I study things like prime numbers and functions, and things that are within scope of a high school math education to at least define. Um, yeah, but then there's this very advanced algebraic side of number theory where people have been building structures upon structures for quite a while, and it's a very sturdy structure. It's been very at the base at least it's extremely well developed. There's textbooks and so forth, but it does get to the point where if you haven't taken these years of study and you want to ask about what is going on at like level 6 of this tower, you have to spend quite a bit of time before they can even get to the point where you see something you recognize.
What inspires you about his journey that was similar as we talked about? 7 years, mostly working in secret.
Yeah, yes, that is a romantic. Yeah, so it kind of fits with sort of the romantic image I think people have of mathematicians, to the extent they think of them at all as these kind of eccentric, wizards or something. So that certainly kind of uh, accentuated that perspective. I mean, it is a great achievement. Yeah, his style of solving problems is so different from my own, but which is great. I mean, we need people
Can you
like that.
speak to it? Like what
Um,
in terms of like the collaborative.
I like moving on from a problem if it's giving too much
Got it.
difficulty.
Got it.
But you need the people who have the tenacity and the fearlessness. I've collaborated with people like that where I want to give up because the first approach that we tried didn't work and the second one didn't approach. But they're convinced and they have the third,
Mm.
fourth, and the fifth approach works. Um, and I have to eat my words. Okay, I didn't think this was going to work, but yes, you were right all along.